If you've ever visited a Disney park, especially Disneyland in California, you may have noticed that there are certain cast members that walk around with a group of guests, be it a large tour group or even just a small family. These cast members are usually dressed in royal blue and red Scottish tartan uniforms. These cast members are often referred to as Plaids. The Plaids play an important role in Disney parks. They are part of a department called Guest Relations, and at Disneyland Resort in California, the headquarters of the Guest Relations Department is located inside City Hall at Disneyland. We'll talk more about Guest Relations in a little bit, but first let's discuss the background of their headquarters. The very beautifully crafted building of Main Street's City Hall. In 1953, while the Anaheim version of Walt's Mickey Mouse Park was being designed, it was important to Imagineer Harper Goff that the large main street he was asked to design have its own public service buildings, for the sake of authenticity. Walt himself was behind this idea 100%. He felt that no small town was complete without its police department, fire department, and city hall. Indeed, these three public service buildings were constructed in a row of finely crafted structures on the west side of Town Square. Disneyland now had a firehouse located on the right of City Hall, although the firefighters that operated out of it were there for entertainment. But above the firehouse, Walt Disney had a private apartment. Be sure to check out my video about Walt Disney's private apartment for more information. This row of structures was among the first buildings to be completed at Disneyland because it was important for Walt to be able to sleep over in his apartment at Disneyland to monitor the final stages of the park's construction. On the left of City Hall was the Disneyland Police Department. It was originally the headquarters of Disneyland Security. It doesn't look that big, but there was actually plenty of office space there. While I was working at Disneyland, those offices were home to both Guest Relations and the Guest Research Department. When designing City Hall itself, Harper Goff was inspired by the one in his hometown of Fort Collins, Colorado. Many of Main Street's buildings somewhat resemble the buildings in Fort Collins, but let's also remember that Harper Goff used these buildings as a starting point. He then researched several other structures across America to come up with his final designs. Some might say that Disneyland City Hall is also partly inspired by the Bay City Courthouse in Michigan. The building was constructed mostly of wood, but supported with a skeleton of steel framework. The brickwork on the outside is made of a stucco that was sculpted by hand into individual bricks as it was dried on the building exterior. Actually, this brickwork is also in 5/8 scale to match with the miniature scale the park was built in. Some of my foreign audience are likely perplexed by the fact that many buildings in Southern California are constructed of wood. Despite its flammable and biodegradable setbacks, wood is a very cheap and plentiful building material in the United States, and it flexes nicely during an earthquake, which means that the building will last longer with minimal damage. Park management knew that Disneyland would need to have a team of people to attend to all relations with guests, and so was birthed the Guest Relations Department. When Disneyland opened, Guest Relations operated out of City Hall. The bottom floor served as a help desk where guests could converse one-on-one with the Guest Relations cast members to answer questions or resolve problems. The second floor of the building was reserved for departments, managers' offices, and even the PBX room. For those of you youngsters in my audience who've never heard of a PBX room, PBX stands for Private Branch Exchange. It was a place where phone operators worked. They answered phones and directed people's calls to the proper line. The PBX room was operated by the Guest Relations Department, although it was moved to the rooms above the Main Street Opera House. It's been so long, I'm not even sure if they still have a PBX, but I imagine they should. City Hall has a third floor. It's more like an attic, really, and it's the only building on Main Street that has a third level. The attic area is used partly for storage, but also houses computer systems that operate the entertainment show lights and audio speakers for Main Street. The guest lobby at ground level is designed to look like a functioning City Hall help desk. Once you enter the building, there is a room on the left. The door is often kept shut, but if you were to enter the room, it is a fully themed mayor's office, complete with a hefty-looking wooden desk, leather office chairs, and display cabinets. The windows look out onto Town Square. The mayor's office is there just for authenticity, but it can be used by Guest Relations for matters requiring a guest's privacy or simply a quiet space to help a guest. If you want to enter the mayor's office, it's not open for casual viewing. Access is completely at the discretion of Guest Relations. The rest of the City Hall lobby is adorned with certificates and awards that Disneyland or Walt Disney himself have earned through the years. Some of these are original pieces. others are replicas. So now let's talk about the history of guest relations. Right from day one, the department was a rather unremarkable part of the business, not nearly as intriguing as it's gotten today. It wasn't until 1958 that Tommy Walker, the park's director of entertainment, also the head of guest relations department, had gotten the idea to add park tours to guest relations. He had been monitoring feedback from park guests, and many guests found Disneyland fascinating and wanted to know more about it. The technical details, the history. There were also plenty of foreign guests to the park, and despite the rumor that minorities were not allowed in Disneyland, the park actually received tons of guests from all corners of the globe right from the first day it opened. And many of these guests didn't speak English and didn't know our American social customs, but still wanted to explore Disneyland with ease. Tommy had the idea that the park could utilize its diverse cast members who spoke different languages to accompany foreign guests who were requiring an escort. 5 cast members were selected from across the park to join a small team that would experiment with starting up a tour guide department. In a 1965 tour guide booklet, cast member Carla de Velez explained how things got started. We had 8 weeks of training sessions. We learned about the park from stem to stern. We went out on our own and asked questions all around to the various foremen and supervisors. We had to ride all the rides. Bob Riley took us into nature's wonderland, and we were instructed as to how the caverns operated. Then the big day arrived. Hutch said, "Come on, Carla, let's go out to the gate and get some guests to take the first guided tour." It was strictly complimentary. I was very nervous. We approached 2 families who consented to give it a whirl. I was, of course, anxious to show off my vast knowledge of the Magic Kingdom, so I filled these poor folks full of facts and figures. I believe the tour took a little more than 3.5 hours. The experiment was rocky, but it was very much a success. What kept the tour entertaining was that guests would learn a little bit of facts, and then they'd all go on a ride like the Jungle Cruise or Nature's Wonderland. Then they'd learn some more fun facts, and the process repeated that way. After spending a week working out the bugs, guest relations began selling their first tickets for tours. Guests would purchase tickets at City Hall and then wait for their tour guide on the porch next to the police station. And on the first day, they were drastically understaffed. Everyone wanted a tour of Disneyland. The clothing that tour guides wore back in the day changed a lot for the first few years, but they settled on the traditional Scottish tartan costume, which made them appear like horse jockeys complete with a riding crop. In fact, these tour guides became known as guest jockeys. The tours were so popular that there often wasn't room on the little porch next to City Hall for people to comfortably wait. In 1965, the vacant space to the left of the police station was developed into the tour gardens. There, guests awaiting their adventure could relax under trellises among flowers. The tour gardens are still used to this very day, and you can now purchase tickets for tours at the little kiosk in the center. The building in the background has a restroom for guests and a private restroom for cast members, as well as a boardroom where ideas for altering tours or creating all new ones can be pitched to department management. Department management also holds meetings there. Another rumor about the guest relations department was that only women were allowed to be tour guides in those days, but actually there were male tour guides as well. It just so happened that most tour guides were women. The department expanded very slowly over the next few decades. The need for tours and the quantity of guests taking the tours could easily be calculated. The department itself later expanded to include running the Lost and Found Center and operating the information booths around the park, which up until then was a separate department. Guest relations experienced massive growth in 2001 when Disney's California Adventure Park opened. The next growth spurt happened in 2012 with the rededication and expansion of Disney California Adventure. The department almost doubled in size. It seemed like there weren't enough new hires to fill the job openings. The most recent expansion happened in 2019 with the opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. There were more information booths across the park to staff and more demand for tours. Through the decades, working at guest relations became a coveted job at Disneyland. People wanted to work there because it looked like fun. You didn't have to go through the daily grind like other jobs. It appeared as if all you do is answer mundane questions all day, and once in a while you lead a group of guests and talk Disneyland to them. But speaking from experience, the job was way more difficult than it let on. City Hall has and will always be the place where complaints are filed. True, there's moments where you can make magic and help people manage the little surprises in their day, and yes, on tours you can talk about Disneyland. However, the truth of the job is that whenever there is a complaint about the park that cast members can't solve, the guests are sent to City Hall. When people lose their items on a ride, or trip on uneven pavement, or think a cast member is rude, they are sent to City Hall. Depending on appropriate situations, guest relations cast members are sometimes allowed to do certain things that most cast members can't, like sitting, eating, and drinking water in front of the public. And they are usually allowed greater access to areas on resort property that other cast members can't go. And when doing research or when giving a tour, the guides are allowed to ride certain attractions. Again, all these things are based off of appropriate situations, and as mundane as they sound, these are freedoms that most cast members are never afforded. Guest relations doesn't only offer tours, they offer private hosts. If a guest is willing to pay a rather steep price, they could get their own personal guest relations host for a minimum of 6 hours or even for the remainder of their stay on property. The benefit of this service is that you always have a knowledgeable cast member at your side to prevent you from getting lost or wasting time. They get you reservations at rides or restaurants, they can translate things for you, answer questions, and give you fun facts whenever you want them. And lastly, they provide company. I was once a guest relations tour guide and briefly a private host, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world. It allowed me to make new friends and to learn things about the resort that I otherwise would never know, and I wore that Scottish tartan with great pride. You might be wondering about etiquette. Well, in guest relations, etiquette is the most valued aspect of their image. I don't know how much has changed since my time there, but we were taught to maintain good posture, how to speak with tact, and how to engage an audience when guiding a tour. When giving a tour, always remember to lead people up ramps instead of stairs. Ladies, hold your riding crop up with your elbow bent at a 90-degree angle. Everyone, never leave your tour group in the sunlight. Keep eye contact, people. Men, double check your tie before going in front of guests. All of you, please smile politely when addressing a guest. If a guest asks whether there's a celebrity in the park, we cannot tell them. Make sure your name tag and pin are straight. Spilled a drop of mustard on your break? Go change your clothes. Alex, did you comb your hair? Well, go comb it again. I know I make guest relations sound horribly fussy, but I assure you it was just the opposite. I loved the high standards, and it was the most fun I've ever had at a job. I loved my coworkers and loved performing my duties. We watched over Walt's apartment, we kept watch of the Disneyland Dream Suite, we returned lost valuables to you, we pointed out the restrooms, we sold Club 33 memberships, we gave tours, we escorted celebrities, and if you weren't a celebrity, we made sure you felt like one. Guest relations is a wonderful department, and I hold my memories of City Hall close to my heart. It's a department designed to help people, designed to assist them in making their visit as magical as it can be. We were storytellers and problem solvers endowed with the power of Disney magic at our fingertips, instructed to use it wisely and only for the good of our guests. As ambassadors for the company and hosts of Walt Disney's original Magic Kingdom, we had to look and act our best, and in maintaining all of our duties, we helped you to make memories that would last a lifetime. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe for more history of Disneyland.